Welcome to Scrolling to Death. Today I have Ed Peisner, who is the National Director of Education and co-founder of the Organization for Social Media Safety. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Nikki. How are you?
I'm super good. I'm really excited to meet you virtually and soon in person.
Yes.
But I've been eager to speak with you since this podcast, Scrolling to Death, is all about social media and how to help our kids use online platforms safely. So I've lined up several questions on behalf of parents. But first, can you tell me what led you to create an organization that's solely focused on social media safety?
Sure. 7 years ago, my son Jordan, at the time, was in the middle of ninth grade, and he was innocently walking home with some of his friends, a typical thing he would do after school. He went to school here in the San Fernando Valley. And this particular Friday afternoon, he had stopped at a restaurant, Wendy's fast food restaurant, just hanging out with his friends.
Yeah.
And there was a dare, a challenge over social media. Somebody was encouraged to see if they could knock somebody out with one punch. Something, by the way, just as a sidebar, is currently happening in New York. People are sucker punching women all over the city.
Oh,
and a lot of people are recording this. So we actually have many, many, many news articles about this happening currently right now.
Jesus.
Go back 7 years. Jordan's standing there talking to a friend of his, and a person from another school, a boy from another school, walked up behind Jordan and struck him in the head to see if they could knock him out. Jordan fell forward, cracked his skull on the ground, and he suffered a traumatic brain injury. So he was airlifted to the hospital, spent 7 days in the intensive care unit. He is different today. 7 years later, he will be different forever. That is not the reason we started this mission. The reason we started this was, first of all, this encouragement came all over social media. Everybody was talking about this. So there were many people who knew what was going to happen. But there was one individual who knew when it was going to happen, who was encouraging the person to do it. And then they stood there with their phone in hand and recorded everything. They didn't warn my son. They didn't do anything to help end it. Rather, they stood there, they filmed it. And of course, once they finished filming it, they snapped it to everybody. It went up to social media. It went viral. We've all heard viral videos going out there. And what I learned from my son afterwards is that the punch, the impact, the physical damage done to his brain, to him, is permanent, but so is the emotional damage. Because what I learned was you never get away from that punch. That is now forever out there. People can watch it. And basically what he had said is, it's like he's reliving that over and over and over again. It's like he keeps getting punched. The more people view it, the more they're participating in it, even though they don't realize that. They might not even know who the person is. But by watching that video, each click, each view, believe it or not, each like, which those videos receive thousands of likes, and I still have a problem comprehending why somebody could like that, but that affects the person in the video. And I didn't realize that. As an adult, I didn't realize the damage that they were suffering by being the victim in the video.
Right.
It led me to try to turn this mess into a message and get out there. I was a single parent with 3 kids. They all had phones. I thought I was giving them a phone. And I realize now I was giving them a very small, powerful computer that had the ability to make a phone call. That's exactly what we're handing them. And many times I've heard people say, oh, well, we're giving them access to the world. And I have to reverse that to parents. I'm like, you're actually allowing the world to access your child.
Yeah.
Think of it differently.
Right.
So that kind of is what led me here.
Yeah. And I assume you guys have tried to get these viral videos taken down.
Yeah, you could. Look, it's a process.
Yeah.
So Jordan's video was taken down on multiple different platforms. However, it still exists on somebody's phone. So if anybody wants to, hey, let's get some more views, let's upload this video again, it might boost our viewership. They could do that.
Yeah.
So it's a constant.
It exists forever.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Yes. Somewhere.
Yeah.
No, I can't remove it from somebody's phone. Again, that leads to that. Will he ever not be the boy getting punched?
And to a teenager, an adolescent, that's
Oh,
this peer acceptance and how they're viewed is everything to them.
yeah. And you're talking about this is their formative years of their life.
Yeah.
This completely changed my son. He is a different person.
Oh, yeah.
I've said it 1,000 times. I dropped him off at school that morning and he
Mm-hmm.
was one Jordan
Mm-hmm.
and he is a different Jordan today.
Yeah. So sorry, Ed.
And that's the part I struggle with.
A lot of people talk about how when you give your kids a phone and social media access, any of it, that ends their childhood, whether you are go through a traumatic experience or are just scrolling on Snapchat.
Yeah, I agree. Again, you're giving them access to the world, but the world now has access to them.
Mm-hmm. And so the sentiment around, you think you're just giving them a phone, and that's been for a decade. I think parents have been just
Mhm.
thinking that, and I'm hoping things are changing now, and some of these harms are coming to light. But why do you think we didn't know? Why do you think we were so behind as parents the last decade?
Well, in the very beginning, we
Hmm.
were giving them phones.
Yeah, right.
If you remember, the slide phone and the flip phones. And
Yeah.
I think innocently,
Hmm.
we didn't see how dangerous it was. We were just handing them a device that we thought, wow, this is wonderful. Now I could track where my kid's going to be after school. It's going to make life, for parents like all of us, it's going to make life a little bit easier. If I'm running late, I'll be able to contact my child.
Yeah.
And, social media really, for what it is, it's not even 21 years old yet. So if social media was a person, it couldn't even drink. We're
Right.
talking about something very brand new.
Yes.
We didn't even conceptually understand what social media was.
Hmm. Hmm.
You, me, I don't think anybody really understood it other than those CEOs that really understood it because they manufactured it, they studied it, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Us as parents, we did want to make sure our kids never felt left out and they were included in everything, just like we do as parents. We want to make sure they go to the parties and the birthday parties. We're inviting everybody. When our kids are young, like your kids are young, when they're young,
Hmm.
and you have a party, you invite all the kids from class. So when we gave this to them, we wanted them to feel included and everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
We just didn't see the writing on the wall. I
Hmm.
think it's more of we, didn't see the forest amongst the trees.
Hmm.
And social media just took on, it just started evolving so quickly, it got away from us.
Yeah.
And now here we are a decade later
Uh-huh.
trying to steer the ship and go back. We can't go backwards.
No.
Again, I spoke at a school all day yesterday and, there were over 80 parents in the auditorium at night. We can't go backwards.
Yeah.
So we do have to try somehow to
Hmm.
steer the ship a little bit and start turning it and put those guardrails up. But it's not easy.
No, but we have to because these harms have gotten out of control.
Absolutely.
Too many kids dying or being severely injured.
Absolutely. Listen, I have been all over the United States. I've spoken to, I don't know how many, but well over 50,000 kids. It's the same dangers
Hmm.
in every school, from sexting to cyberbullying to predation to trafficking. I mean, it goes on. Every school I go to, the principals say the same thing.
Yeah.
Every problem we have on campus revolves around social media and that device.
Yeah. So, what do you think about all the hundreds of school districts suing social media companies for all of these issues they have to deal with financially and emotionally in the schools?
Listen, I don't think anything's going to change until we could sue big social, much like big tobacco.
Yeah.
In my opinion, until you could hit them where it hurts, which is their stock price or their wallet or their pocket, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
there's not going to be a change that we see that will affect all of the kids out there, this global change,
Hmm.
until you could hit them where it hurts or until you could advocate that advocacy piece in place that forces them to do certain things to protect our children.
Okay. And we'll talk about some of the online safety bills that are being discussed tomorrow at a congressional hearing.
Yep.
But I wanted to hear more about what you're learning in the schools. You said that, all of these issues, and I'm hearing this from teachers and principals as well, come down to the social media access, which is being accessed through the smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
And parents continually give the kids iPhones not built for children, can't really be locked down earlier and earlier. So schools are trying to implement smartphone bans.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 80% of schools technically have a smartphone ban, but I'm hearing all kinds of issues with implementation being left up to each individual teacher. So what do you think the solution is when it comes to the kids getting social media access via their smartphones at school?
Listen, there was that, you might remember this, there was the wait till 8. I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever heard that term, wait till 8, wait till 8th grade.
Yeah.
Uh, I, I tweak that when I talk to parents. I
Uh-huh.
really believe it should be wait till 18. I
Yeah.
really, truly believe that
Yeah.
they do not need social media. I'm not talking about technology,
Mm-hmm.
but when it comes to social media, they don't need it in school. Now, obviously, this is how they communicate. I understand. This is their way to communicate. So you can't just strip it from them. However, if you do implement a ban where social media is not allowed on campus and you enforce it, meaning when you come to school, your phone must be either in a lockbox at school, 'cause some schools have those boxes, the
Mm-hmm.
bags,
Or yonder pouches, right?
yonder pouches. Yeah, the bags, the pouches. I know some schools have little, like old shoe racks in the back of the door, and each seat is assigned a cubby hole. I mean, a little spot.
Mm-hmm.
You have to implement that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to implement it deeply, meaning the earbuds, the watches,
Yes.
because kids will put their phones away and their watches on.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it in my presentations, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting talking to a lot yesterday, 300 kids a session, and I'm watching. Some of them are listening to me, and then they look down at their lap, and I see the light.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're in a social media presentation about the dangers and the addictive
Mm-hmm.
nature and all that, and you're like this, or you're swiping on your watch, or I
Right.
see your long hair covering your ear, and you're like this. So I know,
Mm-hmm.
like I see all the signs. It's
Yeah.
not too hard to find. I
Right.
do think they should ban social media on all campuses. I do not believe technology, when it comes to our devices,
Mm-hmm.
is needed. The schools supply it. Chromebooks, iPads, whichever they give to their students.
Yeah.
The technology is there if they want to implement technology. It's wonderful. It's a great way to learn. It really is useful. But social media, having a device like this in their hand,
No.
no. There's no benefit.
Yeah. So I hear that the pushback to that is parents and parents wanting to get a hold of their children during the school day. So what do you say to parents?
You hit the nail on the head right there.
Right.
There's no reason, absolutely no reason a parent should be texting their child in the middle of the school day. It's bad enough that the school, sometimes I ruffle their feathers when I come in to do my presentation because I'm taking time away from their educational hours.
Mm.
But this is education. They need this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
So if a parent is texting them in the middle of the school day, we're doing two things. First of all, you're interrupting their learning. And second, you're not giving them the ability to wait after school.
Sit with the uncomfortable feeling, right?
Right. And be responsible. Your children, myself, when I grew up, and my parents would say, or my mother would say, meet me at the oak tree after school.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there at 3:15.
Yeah.
I
Right.
waited. And at 3:30, if she wasn't there, I was still waiting because she taught me to be responsible and wait and not move from that tree.
Right.
Now, today, if you're going to be late, you have to text your child and tell them you're going to be late, and you're stripping them from being able to be responsible
Mm-hmm.
and learn. My mom said to do this, or my dad said to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be responsible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was talking with my mom about this recently, and she's like, no one makes a plan anymore or sticks to a plan. And so if parents, we just pre-plan a little better in the beginning of the day and just have that 4-second conversation where you're like, I'm going to meet you here when you get out.
Right.
And then if you're late, you're late, right? They can sit and be slightly uncomfortable.
Right.
They will be okay, but we digitally pacify them all day long. They're texting their mom being like, I did bad on my math test, or like this kid is being mean to me. And your parents are able to console them through the text messages,
Right.
which is something, it's a deep need to want to take care of your child, but they also need to learn to sit with that uncomfortable feeling.
The emotional support, I understand.
Yeah.
But then what usually happens, what you just described, because I hear this, boots on the ground all the time.
Yeah.
The child texts the parent.
Right.
Somebody was mean to me.
Yeah.
And then the parent calls the school. And then the counselor gets involved.
Right.
And now the counselor says, I don't know what's going on. What are you talking about? Let me call your child in. And then, oh, well, I texted my mom. And it blows up where the child, if something's happening, all our children should feel comfortable going to their guidance counselor
Yeah.
or counselor or office to say there's an issue, not pulling the phone out under the desk and texting.
Right.
And again, I understand the parents need to want to get them. Like, I get it as a parent myself,
Yeah.
but we have to help our kids be a little bit more responsible. It's okay to be bored, right? Too. It's okay to sit alone with that
Yeah.
and learn what to do with it. We've stripped a lot of that away.
Yeah.
We really have.
Well, and when they check that text, for example, there's 18 other apps that are built to be addictive that are serving them notifications. So now they're being pulled to all these other spaces and they're completely disconnected from what they're there to do is learn.
Yes. And again, you have limited hours in the day.
Yeah.
Notifications, as we know, are disrupting all of our lives. You know, we make a recommendation to our parents during our parent course, and even to the kids, to not have your phone charging by your bed. And then every morning for an hour, when you wake up, give yourself 1 hour to wake up without a device, because it helps to reduce that habit formation. Because if you wake up and the first thing you do is start scrolling, now you're triggering that habit formation and it continues. And at night, what we have found is kids are on their phones 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
I know.
And teachers are telling me, this is from elementary to middle to high school. So all 3 grade levels. Teachers are telling me kids come into first period, they're not tired. They're exhausted. They're sleeping in first period, head down, sleeping.
Yeah.
And it's because these notifications are going off all night. And that is causing educational deficits in our country. We're seeing it firsthand.
Yeah. And there's adjustments you can make if, obviously don't let them have the smartphone in their bedroom at night. But even if you are stuck with that somehow or for whatever reason, turn off the Wi-Fi after a certain point.
Turn off all notifications.
Yeah.
My phone goes on Do Not Disturb from 11 p.m. until 6 a.m.
Yeah, me too.
But my kids, my father, any of my emergency contacts, they could ring through. So if there's ever an emergency, because a lot of parents, what if there's an emergency?
Yeah.
That's okay. They ring through.
Right.
Anything like that will come through as an emergency. So, but my time is valuable. Again, I tell it to the kids, I only have 24 hours in a day. All of us, that's all we get.
Yeah.
There's not a way to create an extra second. By allowing these companies, big social, to steal these hours from us. They are just stealing them from us.
Yeah.
And they're manipulating us to give them more and more of our time.
Right.
So if we can control that manipulation and take it back, we're helping our mental health. We are absolutely helping ourselves.
Yeah. Well, they're stealing hours and years, lots of years. So it's something like 30 years of a teenager's life will be spent staring at their screen. Horrible.
It's a third of their life.
Yeah. So when it comes to the smartphone use in schools, so they're obviously just being distracted by notifications and messages. It's also fueling a lot of cyberbullying within the school hours and fights and things like that. But I also really want to cue into the drug issue and the drug sales that's happening on Snapchat. So are you seeing any of that in the high schools or even middle schools that you're going to speak at?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have seen too many examples of that happening. And it goes both ways. The whole world has access to your child, and all they have to do is get on social media and very easily search for drugs, and they will find it within seconds.
Or not search for drugs, and they will still be served it.
It'll pop up in their algorithms. Exactly. Right. And we know that. And look, predators, drug dealers, during the pandemic, everybody, the world was locked out. I mean, we were all shut down. So they found a way to connect with our children, to sell them products, or to, try to kidnap our kids or look for our kids and via social media.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're doing now. They don't need to wait outside of a school. It used to be stranger danger in person. Now it's stranger danger online. And again, when I talk to children from every grade level, if you go to the mall with your friends after school, if you go somewhere after school and there's a stranger following you, everywhere you go, you turn and there that person is. You would probably say something to mom or to somebody like, this person keeps following me. They're following you now on social media.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, you just don't see them anymore. That is the problem.
And the kids aren't telling the parents either.
No, because as I've said to kids numerous times, there's a difference between a friend, somebody you've met in real life, and a contact. A contact is just somebody on your social media platform, whichever platform you use.
Yeah.
A friend is somebody you know in real life. You've made a connection with, you've spoken, you've shared ideas and thoughts, and you've compared your lives. That's a friend.
Yeah.
A contact is somebody you have on social media. That's not a friend. They have to understand the difference, because the people they're playing games with, Fortnite, Roblox, whatever it is, whatever game they're playing,
Yeah.
if they call that person a friend, but they've never met them in real life, it could be somebody my age.
Yeah. I have an issue with the term friend being used for a social media connection.
So do I. Again, contact, friend, two different things completely.
It's manipulative and wrong.
Very.
And platforms like Snapchat, so you don't even use your real photo for the profile picture.
Correct.
They create you into this cartoon, like angelic looking Bitmoji. And I mean, I've seen side by sides of predators or sex offenders that are sextorting or taking advantage of children. Their Bitmoji they look like a happy, friendly kid. But then you see their booking photo and it's like the scariest person you've ever seen.
Yeah, and that is sad. And I've watched many documentaries, the Hulu show Underage, Undercover. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No,
and if you
I'll
haven't,
okay.
Oh, you should definitely. I might have reversed it. It's either Underage, Undercover, or Undercover, Underage.
Okay.
Either one you'll find out on Hulu.
Okay.
It is frightening when you watch that.
Yeah.
Because these ladies that are in their late 20s, early 30s go on to Kick, and they go on to different platforms pretending to be 11, 12, 13. And they look very young, and they do a little AI to make them look a little bit younger, a little tweaking.
Yeah.
And they'll go on saying, "Hi, I'm 12 years old. I just moved to, Arizona. I'm looking for friends." And within seconds, they're contacted by adults.
Yeah.
Not friends, adults saying, "I am a 30-year-old male. I would love to meet you."
Jesus
like
Christ.
That.
Yeah. And I have heard that some of them, they don't even pretend to be younger. Some of these men, they'll just say straight up, "This is what I want. I'm a man."
Yep. It's frightening.
I set up my own test Snapchat account recently as a 14-year-old girl. And I have been recommended to quick add a bunch of males, and they start asking for what you look like. WYLL is the little abbreviation. So they want a picture. I'm also disturbed by the For You recommended content is 90% sexual. And all I've given them is that I'm a 14-year-old female.
And I saw all 4 of your videos, by the way. I watched everything. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
It was frightening.
Yeah.
How quickly. And again, you're talking, there's 8 billion people on the planet.
Right.
Just think of it this way. Our children who are holding this have access to 8 billion people.
Yeah.
That's the way you have to look at it. It's like putting your child, would you ever take your child at 10 or 12 or 13 or 14 and say, "I'm going to let you go in the mall. There's 4,000 people in the mall. They're all strangers. I'm going to drop you off there, leave you alone, and come back in 8 hours and see how you are."
Yeah.
We wouldn't do that.
No.
And that's what we're doing with her. We're letting them in that online cyberspace with all these bad people. And we expect our kids are going to be able to handle their time. That's the problem. We just think they're going to be okay to handle it on their own, and they can't.
Well, we're almost dropping them off in like the red light district or something. We're dropping them off where like you grow up and you're like, "Oh, everyone's great, everyone's sweet." No, I mean, you get real and you're like, there are bad people in the world that are attracted to children and all these horrible things. And predators know that we're giving our kids access to online games and Roblox and Snapchat and all these profiles, and they target them. They know they go there because our kids are there. And there's so much anonymity and private conversations and disappearing messages. And so the evidence is destroyed in these cases.
And listen, disappearing messages, Snapchat. First of all, let's go back. Snapchat wasn't Snapchat in the beginning, if you remember.
I just did a video about this morning. Please tell.
Yeah, the peekaboo.
Yeah.
So Snapchat before was called peekaboo. There is no reason for anybody to create an app, whatever name you want to call it, peekaboo, Snapchat, where your content disappears quickly for no other reason than you want to send something that's either sexual
Mhm.
or a picture, sexting. What other reason would you create an app where messages disappear other than you want to hide it from your parents?
Well, we don't even have to guess that that's what it was, right? The
Right.
press release from 2011 says, and I have it right here, Peekaboo lets you and your boyfriend send photos for peeks and not keeps. It's literally a sexting app. This functionality is the same, yet now it's just cutesy and it's for kids. I mean, even the logo is the same, the little ghost. And when it was Peekaboo, it had a little tongue sticking out the mouth. And they
I
just
remember
removed
that.
the tongue and made it's the same logo.
The same thing. Again, no purpose for it. And we know. And so
Yeah.
yesterday I was at the school in California. I spoke to 1,800 kids yesterday between 6 hours, 6 periods.
Yeah.
And we asked them a series of questions. It's actually interactive. It's wonderful. They get to answer questions using these little devices, and it keeps real-time feedback going for them. So it kind of keeps them engaged, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But we do ask, have you ever sent or received any unsafe pictures?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is for the higher grades, and we don't share the answers with them. It's all data. It's all anonymous.
Yeah.
30, 40% yeses every time.
Right. And there's lots more that are not
And I
safe.
know,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely. If I ask them, they answer honestly, but
Mm-hmm.
the problem is they think the pictures will go away forever.
Yeah. They're being told that.
They're being told that, and they don't go away. Anybody can take a picture with another camera.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I always tell parents and students, the picture you send to your boyfriend or girlfriend is going to last longer than the relationship you're in with your boyfriend or your girlfriend,
Right.
because online's forever.
Yeah.
And once that picture's out, unfortunately, we've seen them distributed on the dark web, and we've seen them used for sextortion cases.
Mm-hmm.
And I have your picture, so send me more. That happens in Roblox. It happens in Fortnite. It happens everywhere where they're contacting our kids
Mm-hmm.
through these devices. To your point, they know our kids are there.
Yeah.
These sneaky people, these bad actors,
Mm-hmm.
they just turn from waiting outside of the park or outside of the school
Mm-hmm.
to go into the chat rooms or go into the cyber cafes. I've sat in cyber cafes like this and just listened. And I saw adults next to kids in those, and I knew watching
Yeah.
those adults were talking to kids.
Yeah.
They're just doing it in these cyber cafes where they're not tracked as much.
Yeah. Okay. So the imagery, it's not safe to send or even take nude images of yourself.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, with AI, it's become so easy to make someone nude based off
Yes.
of any photo of a
Yes.
child, even. And so a message that I've been sharing with parents too is we have to second guess even sharing our own children on our social media profiles. How do you feel about that's called sharenting and the risks around that?
Again, my kids are 19 to 24 now.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, innocently,
Yeah.
I thought I was sharing because my whole family's on the East Coast. I'm the only one out here. So
Mhm.
that was a great way to share. Now I actually go on every day to social media platform. I'm only on two. And every time memories pop up, I use that as my way to start deleting my past
Mhm. Yeah.
from social media.
Right.
I think sharing all of that, all those images is very dangerous because anybody could have it. You
Mhm.
take one, I've heard stories of images being shared of young kids and their data is out there. And then people are creating credit profiles in kids' names that are 10 and 11 years old. By the time these poor children graduate high school, they have wrecked credit.
Mhm.
So
It's real.
it's not just the picture, it's this opening to their lives.
Right.
So I understand as a parent the want to share. You want to show these wonderful moments.
Of course.
So I call it, when you go on social media, I call it movie trailer moments. So we've all been to movies before. We've all seen trailers. The
Mhm.
trailers you watch, and then you go to see the movie later and you're like, oh, the movie sucked. The trailer was the best part of the movie. Like we've all had that experience. Like
Yeah.
the trailer was great. The movie, not so much.
Right.
Social media is everybody's trailer. So
Mhm.
all we see on social media is everybody's little trailer,
Yeah.
all the perfect moments of their life.
Right.
And we know that's fake as adults. I know when I look at social media, all I'm seeing are the home runs, the soccer goals, the touchdown, the colleges they get into, all those great moments.
Yeah.
But all that data of our kids
Mhm.
is now available. Their pictures, their images. What school? This is one I warned everybody about.
Mhm.
The kids holding the acceptance of their colleges.
Mhm. I know.
Like, okay, so now what you're doing is telling the world that your 17, 18-year-old child who might have credit, who might just be establishing credit in their own name is going to UC XYZ, whatever the school is. So now they do a little deep dive. Oh, they went to high school here. They're going to college here. I wonder where they're dorming. Like, oh, because you posted the college they got into.
Right.
And I know the need, the desire was, I'm so proud. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But the information you're sharing with the world could damage them.
Yeah. We just have to think a little differently about it. And I shared my kids too. And I went back, when my daughter was like 5, I realized, well, let me look into this a little further. I think it was like social dilemma year 2020. I was like,
yeah.
holy shit. And then I went back and just deleted everything. And it's not easy to do. They don't make it easy. They want those kids' photos up there because they drive engagement. But I have a couple specific episodes on sharenting. One interview with Leah Plunkett, who is a Harvard professor who wrote a book called Sharenthood. I recommend that book. Also, you mentioned like you're giving your highlight reel, you're giving just the good stuff. Although other adults might think, yeah, that's probably just the highlight reel. It makes other parents feel bad. Like if I'm watching another mom, have a beautiful like craft night with their kids and I'm just sitting here scrolling on my phone, I feel like a bad mom.
Right.
So there's a lot of that feeling, especially with moms, of just feeling bad that you're not doing enough when you're scrolling, looking at the other mom's activity.
Absolutely. And imagine the child.
Yeah.
Imagine that teenage child sitting home, doing their homework. Maybe it's a Saturday or a Sunday. They look at their feed. And I've heard this from so many kids. They look at their feed. All the kids are at the beach. All the kids are at a party. All the kids are having fun. And this one child is home, not involved in any of that.
Yeah. FOMO.
And then we're seeing a cyberbullying technique today, the intentional exclusion of people.
Yeah.
But not just, you weren't invited to the party, but the kids that were invited go online, they post that perfect moment at the party, but then they tag the person who wasn't invited. Jeez. And that intentional exclusion is it's cyberbullying extended over the world. It's so horrible.
Yeah.
Makes those kids feel so bad.
So bad. And imagine, so the Snap Map, we talked about some of the Snapchat functionality. Snap Maps, they all share their location with their friends. So you can literally see virtually on a map, all your friends are together, maybe at the local restaurant or something, and you weren't invited.
Of course.
And they don't even have to post anything. You can just see that they're there. It's messed up.
By the way, bringing up Snap Maps, I'll share this with you. I forget when it was because it was over the last couple of months. I was at a school and I asked somebody, they said, oh, yeah, I have 700 friends on Snap. This is what this child told me.
Right.
And I said, wow, you've met 700 people in person? Because I'm 50 and I haven't. And they said, well, no, a lot of them are online. I said, oh, so you have 700 contacts. Yeah. Let's be clear. We're understanding the difference between friend and contact.
Okay.
And this child said, yeah, they're all on Snap. I said, could you open up Snap Maps for me? Could I see where they live? So they did. Oh, yeah, I'll show you Snap. And they opened up Snap Maps.
Oh my gosh.
And some of the contacts were in Africa or overseas. I saw the globe, the map, and there were these contacts all over the planet Earth. Oh, and I said, you've got friends in Africa? That's so cool. They said, well, I've never met them. They're just,
Are they in Nigeria? Because that's where the sextortion ring is.
Of course. And I said, I don't want to scare this child because this was a middle school student.
Oh my gosh.
But I said, listen, those are contacts. That person right there on the map in another part of the world, that might be somebody my age. It might be a sneaky person trying to find out where you go to school.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you're posting a picture on Snap with your logo from your school on your shirt, your school's name, you're posting a selfie with all your friends at Starbucks after school saying, we're all hanging at Starbucks and we're going to go play soccer what you're doing is telling everybody where you go to school, where you go after school, what sports you play, what team you're on, who your friends are. That one picture, they always say, write a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Now it's worth 1,000 data points. Like now we have to understand what we're posting.
Yeah.
And the kids don't.
Right. They don't. Okay. So I think we've established that social media is unsafe. I think that we've established that, parents have some control, but a lot of it is out of our hands because the platforms have been created to be addictive and harmful and they don't have to answer to anybody. So
not yet.
So a lot of, hence my transition, a lot of parents assume that the platforms are safe enough. Like if they let 13-year-olds sign up, they must be safe. And so How currently are they protected, if at all, by any legislation that exists?
Well, they're not really. I mean, the legislation that I am aware of that has passed to protect our kids currently today in California, we had Jordan's Law passed. I don't know if you looked that one up. Assembly Bill 1542.
Okay.
It's on my wall right here. Assembly Bill 1540, Jordan's Law in California, was passed after my son was injured. We passed it in 12 months, which is a very fast.
Yeah.
I knew nothing. And by the way, all I knew about getting a law passed, I learned from Schoolhouse Rocks, just so you know, the little I am a bill guy.
Yeah.
But Jordan's Law says that anybody who conspires with an attacker to film a violent crime, if you have prior knowledge of that crime and you're filming it for the purposes of sharing it on social media to get views and likes and clout, whatever, then you could actually be found guilty as a misdemeanor, as a participant in that action.
Yeah.
So much like a getaway car driver, right? You know the bank's going to be robbed at 3 o'clock. You're going to drive the car. You're not going to go in the bank. You're not going to touch the money. You're not going to have anything to do with it. You're just going to pick them up when they do it. Same thing applies. You're kind of an accomplice to that.
Yeah.
So that's Jordan's Law was passed in 2018.
Okay.
I use it more as a teaching tool to let kids know, our first reaction shouldn't be to sit there and film.
And you could get in trouble for it.
And you could be held accountable. Well, you and mom or dad, whoever gave you that device, because you're a minor.
That we need to, I've been making that clear recently. Like the things your kids are doing on their phone, including sharing nude photos of other minors in some states is a felony. And you as the parent who owns the phone could be liable. Just thank you for bringing that up. Anyway.
Absolutely. And remember, the lawsuit goes against you as the parent.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to sue, they're going to sue you.
Right.
So we are working on legislation right now. There are bills that currently, as I talk to you right now, our CEO, Mark Berkman, is en route to DC for that Judiciary Committee hearing tomorrow, Wednesday, trying to push Sammy's Law through. So Sammy's Law, I'm sure Mark talked about it. Sammy's Law would hold these companies accountable for allowing them to open up their API and allowing third-party monitoring software on their platforms. Right now, they're hiding under the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. They have protection.
Yeah.
You can't touch them right now. You can't sue them. In my opinion, until you could sue one of these companies, nothing's going to change. Until you could hit them where it hurts, which is their pocket, their stock price. Some of this advocacy work, some of this legislation going on will help us. But until all these pass, we as parents have to become better educated on the dangers, have conversations with our kids, give them the tools they need. We cannot rely on big social to do it because they only care about their profit. There's a reason why some of these big social media companies don't let their own kids use their own platforms.
Right.
And if you want to research something, look at Steve Jobs' interview. It was before his passing in 2011. One of his last interviews, he was asked about the iPad and the technology he created. And somebody in this interview, you can look it up. Somebody asked him, is this good for your kids, for your own kids? He said, no way. It's very dangerous. I wouldn't let my kids use this.
Jesus Christ. And we're giving it to toddlers.
And add to that the addictive nature, that dopamine that their brains are getting, which we know is not healthy for them. This continued drip of dopamine. That's why when you pull an iPad out of a 4-year-old's hand and they go into tantrum mode, they're not just having a tantrum, they're addicted. Like they're suffering addiction.
Yeah. It's not in their control.
Exactly. Don't be mad at them. They're addicted.
Yeah.
It's real. It's a real addiction.
Real. Okay. And Sammy's Law. So Sam Chapman, I have an interview with Sam about his story and his son, Sammy. And so please listen to that. So Sammy's Law, though, I really like because it would allow parents to opt in for alerts. So if their child is offered drugs or asked for a nude photo, parents get an alert and have the chance to stop that from happening.
Correct. What I like about that is it uses AI. Well, the one we recommend is Bark, which is what you're referring to. And using AI, it'll send a real-time alert like instantaneously. And I think right now, Mark and I were talking about this the other day, I think Bark, as of now, this last few weeks, it's sent out 200 million alerts already.
Right.
That's a lot of, I can't tell you how many lives were saved with that, but That's a lot of alerts. We call it buckling your social media seatbelt. That's our course. That's what we teach.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Bark, this software, that app,
Mm-hmm.
as the airbag to the seatbelt. Like, again, it's just another thing we have to do.
Yeah.
We have to buckle their seatbelt when it comes to social media.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to give them tools like Bark and other things to keep them even safer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're not exaggerating when you say it can save their life, because in some of these sextortion cases, the kid is getting approached by the predator who they think is a young girl. And within hours, they've shared a nude photo, been extorted, and then killed themselves. So it's literally within a few hours, sometimes even less than that. So the parents would have gotten an alert in that case that their child was asked for a nude or sent a nude photo. In fact, with certain technologies, you can not even allow that nude photo to be shared. But I wanted to ask what you thought of Meta's recent update. So they now don't allow, they blur nude imagery within direct messages, but you can just click on, it basically says this might be a nude image and you can click on it to open it. And is that,
it's a talking point.
That's an example of how little big social does to actually try to protect our kids.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, because they have the technology.
Right.
If they have the technology to blur it, they have the technology to not allow it to be there at all.
Yeah.
Why would you blur something?
Right.
Because all you're saying is, hey, there's a nude under here.
Right. Teenagers are going to be like, great, I'm definitely going to
click this and you can, come on. They're going to see it and go, oh, it's a nude. I don't want to look at that.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's just, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, this is, again, they have the technology to help our children. They're choosing profit over lives, profit over people.
Yeah.
That is what they're doing. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars. I think last year, just advertising revenue from big social, the five tech, I think it was $956 million or something, just ads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or billion, maybe $956 billion. Yeah, billion. Sorry, billion.
Yeah.
They're not going to just take the picture down. They're making too much money.
I know. It's horrible, and we're just handing it over to our kids. And so we need the research, we need the legislation, we need the education. And I'm grateful to your organization for vetting real research, because some research I've come across is, especially that's pro social media, can often be funded by big tech and big social, which is very interesting to learn. But what do you have coming up for the Organization for Social Media Safety? How can listeners connect with your team?
First of all, anywhere, any of your listeners all over the United States, if they have a school they'd like us to come to, they could reach out to us. Okay. They could put us, they put them on the calendar. Obviously, we are a nonprofit. We do charge a fee for the schools. It's nominal in comparison to the safety that it brings, but we have to fund ourselves until the government funds us, which hopefully that'll happen someday. In the meantime, they could reach out to us. I'd love to visit the schools and talk to the students and the parents. What do we have coming up? And we do have our Social Media Safety Gala, May 21st in Los Angeles. Obviously, anybody's welcome that lives in the area to buy a ticket and come support the work we're doing. This started because of something that happened to my son. I never thought I'd be this, what Sam calls an accidental advocate. But what my eyes are opened up to is the next big tobacco. And the difference with big tobacco, because a lot of parents will say to me, this is just like big tobacco was. And I'll say, well, yes and no. Big tobacco was bad. They were marketing to our kids. They were using, Joe Camel and all these things to make it so cool to smoke. The big difference was we didn't buy the cigarettes for our kids. That's the difference. We didn't say, here are the cigarettes, but don't smoke them. Now we're saying, here's the device, but don't, so that's the big difference.
Yeah, you're right.
We're giving it to them. And so now we have to really make sure we understand that just as the parents, like we don't want our kid, there is a fear of missing out. It's real. There is a lose-lose. At some point, you're going to have to give in and give them a device. It's just real. But if you could do that with as many, guardrails you could put up and safety software, you're not sticking them in a car at 16, giving them the keys and saying, good luck.
Right.
And just let them drive. You're not. You have to take a permit and a license and instructions and over and over and over again. And they got to get relicensed and take more tests and all of that. This is almost as dangerous as that.
Yeah.
These devices cause the same amount of harm.
Yeah. Parents have the responsibility to educate ourselves on these things. And, they take driver's ed and they go to all these courses and they have these workbooks, but we don't have that. Like parents are at a disadvantage here. And so, but we do have resources like your website with all this research and our social media profiles with snippets of what you have to know before giving your child social media. And I appreciate accidental activists like you who have gone through horrible experiences so that other parents don't have to be accidental advocates and we can just be advocates. Like I don't have a horrible story, but I'm an advocate because I've talked to hundreds of people that have horrible stories and I don't ever want that to happen to my child.
That's actually what I tell the kid. I'm here because something happened to my child and I do not want that to happen to anybody. Anybody.
No.
I don't want them to go through this. And
right.
And again, during we filmed our entire social media safety course. We put the entire thing online. It took us months. It's all free. It's right on our website. Social media safety, buckling your social media seatbelt course. Any parent could go on for free and take all the modules, take the entire course.
Wow.
At least it gives them something we didn't have.
Yeah.
Because none of us grew up with social media and we kind of just looked for the answer here or there.
Right.
Now there's an actual course you could take. To your listeners, they could go online and take our course. It's all free. They could get all of our information. I mean, that's for parents.
Thank you, Ed.
To not become accidental advocates.
Right. Ed, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you and your team.
Thank you. You as well. I'm really grateful to you for doing what you're doing. Again, it's so important.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Let's keep moving things in the right direction and keep trying to keep kids safe online. So thank you to the listeners for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks, Ed.
You got it. Thank you. Bye-bye.